Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's us again. I'm Les Jackson. He's Fred Staub. Hey, Fred, how are you doing?
Hey, Les. Well, what's going on? A lot of stuff around the auto
Oh,
industry, right?
boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
What do we have up
Uh,
first?
well, big returns at Ram, including the Hemi. Hey, we told you the Hemi would be back, finding its way back into the engine bay of the Ram 1500, and a return to NASCAR racing.
Yeah,
Here we
yeah,
go.
in the truck series, and there's some talk that they might bring the Charger out in the NASCAR world as well, but no official announcement on that. But we do have an official announcement on Mini. They revealed their lineup for 2026. Some of the prices might really shock you. We'll talk about that.
It's still 2025, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but 2026
Okay.
is on the way,
It's on the
automotively.
way. And
Yeah.
so far, 2025 has had the fewest new vehicle launches of any year in the last decade. And we'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't become a trend because we like
Yeah.
talking about new vehicles here on Cruise Control and new reveals. So,
And what? The Kia K5 gets a recall because it has Korean logic. Uh-oh.
yeah. Well, yeah, we better explain that. We will explain that.
We
It sounds
will.
a little weird. It's not a terrible
It's
recall, but
no,
we'll
it's not. And it doesn't apply to mine because, oh, yes, it does.
okay. Well, we will we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk tech. After 66 years of service, the same old seat belts are still being put in vehicles. Well, Volvo has brought out the multi-adaptive seat belt with big gains in safety. Volvo continues to lead in the world of safety, don't they?
They certainly do. They invented the seat belt way back in the 30s.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, hey, good. I mean, it's just great. Proud of them.
Yeah. Well, all that and more when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control. Let's start out with the story from Ram. A couple of returns. The first one involves the return of the Hemi V8, the 5.7 liter, to the 1500 Ram 1500. It's going to be the 5.7 liter Hemi with e torque, and it is rated at 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. And the e-torque system is a hybrid technology, basically a light hybrid technology, Les Jackson. Um,
Yeah, but this is, I think everything should have this. I really do.
Surprised that the Hemi's coming back to the Ram? Not really, right?
We're not because we've been kind of feeling that for 6 months or so, and it belongs there.
Yeah, yeah. And Tim Kinesis, the CEO of the Ram brand, said everyone makes mistakes, but how you handle them defines you. And he said Ram screwed up when we dropped the Hemi. We own it and we fixed it. Wow, you don't normally see that type of discussion from a CEO or head of a brand, right?
Absolutely, and I always have respect for people that admit their mistakes
Yeah,
and tell you what they did to fix them.
yeah. After all, business, it's about mistakes. You move on, you learn, you
Yeah.
do something different. Consumers wanted it back, and they got it back in a big form here. Um, I think you'll still have the straight six turbo Hurricane engine offered. You'll have the
Mhm.
Pentastar offered, and that's great. The more choice, the better for the manufacturers, right?
Exactly, exactly, and I assume that the 6 is less expensive than the Hemi.
No, that's a good question. I mean,
I'm not sure.
I think it would be because I mean the e-torque system is a hybrid. Plus, you have the V8. I don't know. We'll have to find out about that. Once again, it does deliver 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. It will be available for the 2026 model year on the Ram 1500 Tradesman, Bighorn, Express, Warlock, Laramie, and Rebel at a later date, and also the Limited and Longhorn. So basically, you're going to, the full Ram lineup gets this engine available. What do you think the take rate is going to be on this, Les Jackson? What do you think?
I'm saying 75%.
75%. And a lot of people will say, well, you know what? Going with the 5.7 is a sure thing. We don't know anything about this Hurricane engine, the straight six twin turbo engine. It's complex, and we
Right.
don't know. I mean, it could be great or it could have issues. They built thousands and thousands of these 5.7 liter Hemis, and it's kind of the known
Yeah.
system, right?
It's bulletproof technology, if you know, or as close to it. And you know, if you have a truck and presumably you're doing something heavy duty with it, then you want something with a lot of torque.
Right. And this is a little bit about the system. The eTorque hybrid system is a class exclusive available V8 hybrid, and it replaces the traditional engine mounted alternator with a belt driven motor generator. The motor generator works with a 48-volt battery to provide quick and seamless engine start stop and additional torque. So the system enables up to 130 pound-feet of torque to be available on initial throttle tip-in. And if you get torque like that, that's something you're actually going to feel, isn't it?
You will feel it, and it offers a towing capacity of up to 11,470 pounds. Uh, that's that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, that's very substantial. So I think this is going to be the big hit, and good for them for kind of realizing it was a misstep. I think it was out of their hands. Their former CEO was like, "I don't want these things around," and
Yeah.
that was not the best play, was it, when it came to
Well,
sales of
he
these
didn't know
rims?
the territory. He didn't know the American buyers.
And it's not about what you want; it's about what
No.
people will buy. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, they didn't realize that. Now, the other return for Ram is the Ram 1500 returning to NASCAR in the truck racing category, and I think this is a big deal. I believe this is a great way to sell trucks as well, don't you?
It is. You know, I just have constantly been amazed at the popularity of trucks everywhere in the middle of the country.
Hmm.
Actually, everywhere now, but the middle of the country, I don't think you can live in Texas if you don't own a,
You
a
have to own
truck.
at least one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that it's just they're just really popular, and truck racing is incredibly popular. You and I have never been able to test one of these on a track. We've been in various cars on the Miracle Mile at Dover, Delaware, and
Hmm.
I've been on the Las Vegas International Speedway in them, and
Yeah.
it's pretty exciting. Uh, Trucks, I would assume, would actually be pretty comfortable.
I'm not sure if it would be comfortable for a long, long
Well,
race, but
no.
this is a return to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2026. They took a 13-year break, which
Wow.
is huge. And I think too, you're going to see a return of Dodge. I guess it depends on the popularity of the new Charger, which has had a little bit of a trouble. Launching basically because the electric version launched first. People found out you couldn't
Yep.
do a burnout with it. But I think it's a cool body style. I do believe the Hemi will end up in that as well. I think somebody's out there with a torch right now saying, how could we fit this in here? And I think they will fit it in here. Um, my question to you, we know the Hemi is going to be built again in the US, the
Right.
5.7. Will there be, we've talked about this with GM, there's a new generation V8 coming along. They're developing it. Will there be a new fresh sheet Hemi V8 offered?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, I don't know. I would think they would be working on that. Um, I mean, you got to be competitive, really competitive. So yeah, I think, you know, let's say they will. Although, again, I don't follow this
I
that
think
much.
I think they will probably do it. I really
Yeah.
do think they will probably do it. Maybe a smaller displacement model, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe a bigger displacement model.
Well, there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes, we will well, we will keep you more up to date on that. Right now, we're going to switch over to Mini. Mini revealed its 2026 model lineup, and it is quite extensive. Let's kind of go through some of it and talk about some of the updates and talk about some of the key features. So, one of the most exciting announcements for Mini for the 2026 model year updates to the John Cooper Works style package are now available for all S models. And that is a $1,200 package for the Cooper and a $1,400 package for the Countryman. It includes things like the John Cooper Works Aero Body Kit, exclusive wheels, dynamic damper control. Of course, you can get a sport stripe, that Go Fast stripe, with
yep.
different roof and mirror cap colors. I always like that. I wonder if they still offer the Union Jack roof. I've never really seen that in the U.S., but of course, that was a common thing on older minis, right?
I've certainly seen them here over the years. In fact, if I had a Mini, I'd have a Union Jack on it just for fun.
Yeah.
But I bet uh, I think they would offer that. Their paint schemes have always been just really out in front, and I think they want to keep it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the features. They have something called Digital Key First, which is interestingly, it will be available only on vehicles produced on or after July 1st, 2025. So if you really want Digital Key First, you have to wait to buy a little bit, um,
That's
and
right.
that comes with models equipped with Comfort Access. Most models, including convertibles, will adopt the advanced mini digital key plan, allowing drivers to unlock and start their vehicles using a smartphone. The update streamlines key access by replacing one of the two physical key fobs with a setup card and a service card. Um,
Hmm.
hey, to each his own. This does not a real big appeal to me. How about you on this
To
digital
be
key?
honest, that appeals to me a lot.
Does it?
Well,
You would use
and
an app?
I'm gonna tell on myself.
Okay.
My car, I don't know if it has a phone app or not, but the fob itself will remote start the car,
Okay. Well, that's
and
it's
to
not
be
a
and
subscription or anything like that. That only
no,
okay.
no,
It just does it because it's
it
a
just
Kia.
does
They
it,
just do it. They just include it. Yeah.
and I didn't use it in the winter because, frankly, I just wasn't aware I had it. And I was looking at the fob on a very hot day just last week, and I noticed it has the little circle with the arrow.
Right.
So I hit the lock button and then held that down, and the thing started itself up and air conditioned. And having a nice cool car when the
Right.
sun's beating down on it on a hot day is very much like a heated steering wheel in the winter.
Yeah, well, it's a good surprise for sure. I mean, not to, you know about that and then have it happen. So it's certainly a good surprise.
That's right.
Let's jump back to Mini, though, and talk about their pricing. This might be a little bit of a shock to people. So, full range pricing, right? You can get any of these vehicles in Signature trim, Signature Plus, or Iconic trim, any of those. So let's run them down. We'll run down the most expensive numbers. Iconic trim, right? The Mini Cooper hardtop 4-door, $34,600. The Mini Cooper hardtop 4-door, $37,900. The Mini Cooper hardtop 2-door, $33,600. So basically, that is your base model, unless you go for that Oxford edition, which is very affordable. Right?
Yeah, but weren't the minis in the teens when they were introduced?
I'm not sure about that. Ago? I'd have to look at that, but I tell you, they are quite expensive, and it goes on.
They are expensive.
It goes on and on, and when we hit the top number, I think you'll be pretty astounded. Mini. The Mini John Cooper Works hardtop 2-door, $43,300, and then you keep going. The Mini John Cooper Works convertible, $49,000 in the Iconic trim.
Wow!
And it tops out with the Mini John Cooper Works Countrymen All 4 in the Iconic trim. $49,400.
Okay, so that's $50,000. So
yeah,
wow. And the convertible, you used to get in the convertible models, you used to get a pretty good spread of prices that were down near the lower levels, but now it's not. If you want a convertible, $38,700 is as cheap as you're going to get one.
Yeah. And how is Mini reliability? Because Mini has always had some issues with reliability, and certainly you don't want to spend $50,000 for a vehicle and have reliability issues,
Well, that's right. I think I haven't looked at the latest consumer reports like reliability. I don't think they're at the bottom of the list where they were a number of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're kind of mid-range.
Yeah. Interesting.
They've solved most of the engine problems, which were kind of the main reliability issues.
Yeah. All right. Well, a look at Mini pricing and equipment updates. It is not a cheap way to go for sure, but
no, but it's awfully cute.
But it's cute. Exactly. Well,
come on,
it is. I'm not going to disagree with you.
No.
Let's jump to our next story. This is pretty interesting, and it comes from someone quoted in the articles from Bank of America. Senior auto analyst John Murphy said this year, 2025, has had the fewest new car model launches in decades. There were 29 new car models coming out in 2025, and that's the lowest number in decades. This is according to Automotive News. What do you think of that? What is going on?
I'll tell you what I don't think is the cause. I don't believe that the current economic situation is it, because these launches are planned years ahead.
At least 5 years ahead, right?
Yeah.
At least 5 years.
That's right. So I don't think it's that. And by the way, last year 200 new. Now that includes refreshed current models, not just new introduced models. But still, that's a lot, and coming down that far, you just wonder: is this the future?
Well, in this article, the analyst John Murphy from Bank of America said it is the pullback of electric vehicles that were planned. I don't know if anyone ever really drilled down and said, oh yeah, electric vehicles are going to be big. That's going to people are going to lap them up. I mean, was that ever determined by anyone that said there is an insatiable demand for new electric vehicles? I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
It was
I don't.
based on mandates and that which are gone, right?
But there were. It was also based on every car company was developing electric vehicles for the future, and they all decided, well, since that guy is introducing one, I've got to introduce one, and if I do, then this guy has to
Sure.
introduce one,
Right.
and they just went ahead and did it. I think you're right. I think that they didn't put their toes in the water
Mhm.
and figure out, is somebody going to buy this thing? I mean, soon,
Well,
while we're making it.
yeah, yeah, it's interesting here too. According to the Detroit News, they report that Bank of America predicts 71 EV models will be coming to market during the next 4 years. That's about half of what the forecast
Hmm.
had expected 2 years ago. I Here's the thing. I don't think anyone was ever that excited about electric vehicles. Um,
Uh,
really.
no, I
I don't think they were like, let's just stop making gas vehicles and make electric vehicles. I don't think many people were saying that. I think it was they both on the government side and in the auto industry, some of them tried to force it. People don't like to be forced. Um,
yeah. Well,
and,
and
and
they were much more expensive.
and they're very well. That's the thing too. We went through this period where like car companies said, well, yeah, it used to cost $35,000. Now it costs $85,000. And
Yeah,
oh, by the way, it gets less range and it takes hours to charge up.
that's
I mean,
that's right.
that's not a easy thing to sell. You know what I mean? How do you sell that? Um,
Now, I will say, as we have both driven and tested several scores of electric vehicles, they are marvelous to drive. They're just wonderful. They're super comfortable. They're very beautifully appointed. They're incredibly fast. But if you own it, then it's like owning a boat. It's an awful lot of attention you have to give to it, uh, as opposed to just going to the local gas station and filling up.
yeah,
So yeah,
and also as you and I have said that the charging process
right.
out in the public is, at least in my area, terrible because
Yeah,
everything's broken. Uh, People are doing takeovers of it. I mean, it's just not that good. So I don't know where, something got out of sync here. And now what has happened is probably the development of electric cars and the take rate of them. I think it will continue to grow, but not exponentially. And as we've seen,
no,
many manufacturers are like, "Hey, we're going to just do hybrids and that type of thing." And maybe extended range electrics will be come into bigger play because that is electric, but it does away with the problems of charging it, and you have your charger on board, basically a gas engine. And I think some people would say, "Well, why am I doing that when I can just have a gas engine?"
yeah, that's right. Um, and I don't believe the Detroit News or the Bank of America when they say 71 models are coming through. Right now we have about 50, 49 or 50
Electric
uh,
vehicles.
electric, pure elect battery vehicles. I don't believe 30 more are coming through in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. I don't see that happening,
Yeah, interesting
but
stuff. Well,
we'll see.
we'll see. Of course, potentially the discounts will go away. The
Yep.
$7,500 will go away. Uh, Maybe some states will keep it. I don't know. I kind of doubt that. But as manufacturers move away from it, do you think they'll be able to get prices down? The average transaction price down?
Well, the only way that's going to happen is the same way it happens with cell phones, which is you have millions of them, and the batteries that were expensive now are very, economies of scale. They're very cheap.
So it has to
Uh,
be some kind of technological breakthrough, which they are
they're
coming.
they're coming. They're coming.
And that is oddly one of the things for extended range electric vehicles, because you can use a smaller battery. You not only, because you're charging it with an engine, you are reducing the cost of the vehicle, you're reducing the weight of the vehicle, and maybe that will reduce the price of it, even though you have an engine and a generator.
That's right.
It's kind of
That's
funny when
right.
you think about it. It's like, well, now you're adding an engine, but it's an interesting time in the auto industry. That's why the numbers of reveals are down. They're also down. Look at Nissan. Nissan's not bringing out a lot of new stuff.
Uh,
They can't
exactly.
afford to, you know?
And Jaguar is pulling back.
Yeah, they're stop selling cars basically,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So they're not
Now,
developing anything.
let me pose a question to you, sir.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago, I mentioned that technologically, the Chinese made have, have created a practical nuclear powered battery
Okay.
that
how
lasts
how safe
50.
it's not just
Well,
dumping
it
radiation
lasts.
everywhere.
No, no, no. It's you can contain that. That's not that tough. And it lasts 50 years. Now, if they in the next, let's say, 4 or 5 years, make it mass producible, and they want to really break into the U.S. car market, especially with electrics. If they have that in their electric cars, now you don't have to get them charged. They charge themselves.
Okay.
Boy, oh boy, what do you think would happen?
That I think would be a game changer. Um,
It would, yeah, it would have
I
to be.
I also think that technology might be restricted by manufacturers because they don't want a forever car.
It it might be. I have a slogan for their for their Chinese nuclear battery car,
Okay.
which is be the first kid on your block to be the last kid on your block. but,
Oh
but
boy.
anyway,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be just a way to just come in and take over the market?
Well, you know what you'd have to do? You'd have to have it where you could bring the car back and they'll put a new body on it. Like kind of like they do with fire
Yeah,
trucks where you keep the
yeah,
fire truck but they put a new pump on it and they put a new body on it and it becomes pretty much a new truck and looks new, but the chassis underneath is old.
yeah.
So that's
But
the only analogous thing I could see to it, because they don't want to end the revenue stream. As we know, manufacturers want to keep the revenue stream
yes,
going
they do.
more
Yes,
than
they
it
do.
is now with things like apps and services and heated seat subscriptions. So yeah, it's a good point, Les. I don't know, but let's talk about a story that might cut near to you, and that is a recall of the Kia K5. It's for a weird reason, and that has to do with it has Korean logic programmed into its turn signals. What is Korean logic? Well, uh,
It-
apparently the programming that was designed for the Korean market, and it is recalling 82,000 K5 sedans due to a lighting issue. It's software controls, so it's not anything with wiring or whenever.
no,
Uh, when the turn signal is activated, the parking light may not stay illuminated. Now, what's interesting about this, on most cars, if you are looking at them, and I remember when this first happened to me, uh, I'm looking at a car, someone puts their turn signal on. In most cases in the US, the daylight running light turns off on that side to accentuate the turn signal. That's the idea. But what has me scratching my head is it seems like that's what this Korean logic on the K5 sedan does. It turns off the parking light, although I haven't heard it called parking light in a long time. Have you?
I haven't heard somebody say parking light in many years.
Yeah.
It's just your signal light.
It seems
Um,
like uh, it seems like it's doing what most other cars do in the US. So,
well, I will tell you next time we speak what mine does. I'll pull it up to the garage and watch the garage door,
yeah.
uh, reflect the light. Now, obviously, mine is one of the recalls. It's a 25 K5. Um, and it was built in Korea. It wasn't built in the U.S. plant.
Okay.
So I haven't noticed anything about the turn signal lights. The car has a lot of lighting.
A lot of lighting. A lot of lighting.
Yeah.
Apparently, there is an actual stipulation that these violate. That is the FMVSS number 108. And when the turn
Yes.
signal is activated while headlights are activated in a steady burning state or while parking lamps are activated, the corresponding parking lamp does not illuminate in a steady burning matter. While the vehicle should still have lights illuminated, the absence of the parking lights runs afoul of that number 108. So,
Right.
it's
And just for clarity, FMVSS is Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard.
okay.
Yeah.
All
I've
right.
been to NHTSA so many times. I can't
You can't
I
remember.
can't
Yeah.
avoid knowing what all these acronyms are.
Yeah. Um, sounds interesting. Hey,
Yeah.
who knew? But it doesn't seem like a big
Who knew?
fix if you have to
No,
do it.
I don't think so.
It's like a. I'm surprised they can't even do it over the air, but maybe they can. Who knows? I don't know.
Maybe so. I suspect maybe they'll just like in my case, I'm going to the dealer in July to get an oil change and a safety inspection. So they'll probably just update it. That'll be that.
Yeah, say that's outstanding. So we're going to take care of it. So interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Well, why don't we talk a little tech, Les Jaskin, and talk about seat belts. Seat belts, there's a few things on cars that kind of have stayed the same. One of them is windshield wipers, right?
Yes.
I mean, we've got delay and different things like that, but they've stayed pretty much the same. But seat belts, they went through a period of time where they did get updates. Remember the automatic seat belt where it would come
The,
up the track.
the
You know,
racetrack seatbelt
yes,
in the 70s,
yeah,
everyone hated them.
yes, and it was prone to failure. It's on
Oh
all that
boy.
mechanisms on. Yeah, it was for your shoulder belt. It would come up around at the top of the window
Yeah.
and come back. And
Come back.
and my question is it a good idea to have that attached to the door? What if you get hit in
I,
the door and the door flies open?
that seemed to me at the time to be somewhat of an engineering flaw, to say the least.
Yeah.
I rented a Pacer, an AMC Pacer with that thing, and and it was on that big door,
Yeah.
and the belt must have been about 8 feet long,
Because it had to stretch and roll
and
out.
I watched it when the door closed, and I thought, well, this is stupid.
Right.
If the door opens, I just fly out.
Yeah. If you get hit in the door and the top of it deflects away, well, then
Yeah,
the whole shoulder belt is going to, be 4 feet in front of you. It's
yeah.
it seemed like a prone to problems.
It
Well,
was fortunately it didn't last too long, but it was a weird idea.
remember when they had the shoulder belt up on clips in the headliner, and nobody
Oh
like
yeah,
I think cars spent
that's
their
right.
whole life with that belt clipped up there, and it had another
Exactly.
seatbelt latch, and you had to bring it down and latch it, and yeah, it wasn't the best.
That was begging to not have a 3-point seatbelt.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what Volvo has planned, because this is pretty cool. And I think it's great, because one of the most annoying things for me about seatbelts is the automatic tensioner. When you are on a hill and you're trying to look forward to see around a obstacle, and the thing locks you back in, and you're trying to go
Right.
back and forever had
Right.
that
Yeah, you
happen.
can't. Many times, and it's very annoying.
It's very annoying, and it's like, that's fine if there's an accident, but there's no accident. I'm trying to avoid an accident by seeing
Yeah.
what's coming up, right? So let's talk a little bit about what Volvo has done, and it's sort of a scenario where one size doesn't fit all, because that's what they say it's like right now. The 2026 Volvo EX60 will feature what they call the multi-adaptive safety belts, and they're designed to optimize themselves for different crash conditions, body types, and even driving posture, as some people have very interesting driving posture. By the way, it's being developed at the Volvo Safety Center, which must be an interesting place to tour. Um, a lot of people, that's one thing, they sit either very close to the steering wheel, leaning forward. Some people sit slouched way back, which is, you know, not great. But right now, the seatbelt just says whatever, with their seat reclined, and that's not great. So the electric 2026 Volvo EX60 has come up with a system. They put this system on there that will make the seatbelt kind of more adaptive to the person driving it, right? Uh,
Right.
the modern seatbelts are, of course, already pretty sophisticated. There's load limiting for forced adjustment, as we talked about that. Pre-tensioning, we told that. So they have introduced. It is a 3-point belt system, which is, that is pretty common. But they have introduced a new system to tension the seat belt, and also factor in passenger height, weight, and even posture to calculate how best to hold its passengers. So it does this. I guess it just kind of analyzes you as you sit down for weight and height, I would imagine. So it can precondition
Yeah.
for this. It can't.
It
It
right.
can't do
It
it
knows.
while the crash is happening, right?
Well, there's already in your cars a transducer in your seat that tells the airbags how much you weigh.
Okay.
So it's using some of that information. I don't know how it's measuring your height, but
Camera?
it is.
What about the distraction camera? Maybe that does it.
Um,
Driver
yeah. So
distraction system.
right, and posture and all that. So I guess it uses more transducers. Um, it's a brilliant system because it's going to, just like other factors in a car. It's going to uh, tailor the seatbelt holding you depending on who you are. When I was down at the IIHS crash facility, they told me that smaller people in crashes frequently get broken ribs from the seatbelts.
Right, because the seatbelt has to hold
It's gonna
300
hold you.
or 300. There's
Yeah,
probably a limit for seatbelts, and some people probably exceed them, right?
yeah.
For holding
So,
capability.
and that, I don't, frankly, if it's going to keep me from hitting the steering wheel,
Or going
then
out the windshield.
I'll take the cracked rib.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so I'm assuming that seatbelts currently have like a standard number. Like we always talked about this, they
Right,
would build most vehicles adjustability wise on the seat and
right.
steering wheel for a 6'2" male, right? That was the
That's
median.
it. That's it. And and the tensioner, the automatic pre-tensioner, that is to say, all car vehicles have that because it's federal law. Um, that will come out at a given rate or a given deceleration rate, no matter who you are. And that's the problem. And of course, it causes problems that you said earlier, which both, we both find very annoying because we want to move forward to look, at this traffic coming to our left,
Hmm.
and it stops us.
Right. Right. And then you got to go
Yeah,
back and forth until you can
that's
unlock it.
that's right.
Yeah. By the way, seatbelts, 1959 invention, credited to Niles Bolin,
Yes,
who
the
I guess worked
3-point
for
seatbelt.
Volvo, right? So,
He worked for Volvo. Volvo offered it immediately to the auto industry. It wasn't taken up until, oh my gosh, 10 years later.
well, you've
Um,
restored a lot of cars.
yep,
Um, what did you used to do if it didn't have seatbelts? Did you at least put lap belts in it?
I put lap belts in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Um, the
Something
Cobra
like
has a harness because
a full harness. Yeah.
it's a you know it's a race car, but but it's not safe anyway. 'Cause,
Well, at least you're not going to be able to retrofit an airbag to a car, but at least if
uh,
you have a 5-point harness, you're not going, you're going to
you're
endure more G's, but you're not going to,
exactly.
yeah, because being ejected from a car is not ever what you want to
It
do,
generally is not conducive to good health.
or future air breathing. Yeah, it's not good.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Being flying on your own at 65 miles an hour never really works out.
It was a
It's
bad idea if someone ever
it's
had it.
just
Yeah,
you don't want to do it.
yeah, yeah. Let's talk about a reveal from Cadillac. This is one of their first electric V series, the Optique V. Well, let's discuss this a little bit. Cadillac, of course, pushing heavily into the electric world. It is the fifth generation of the V series portfolio, and the Optique V infiltrates the V. I have to read this, Les. I just have to read
Yeah,
it. Optique V infiltrates the V series brand with a youthful and vibrant persona, sport luxury design, and performance driven power. All right. Well, I'm not
okay.
sure if young people want an electric Cadillac. I'm not sure if that's what they want. But some of the numbers here are pretty impressive. Cadillac estimated 519 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque in the Velocity Max mode. I love that name. That's good marketing. Cadillac estimates a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds in Velocity Max 1, which sounds like something out
Okay.
of a sci-fi movie. Go to
Yeah,
Velocity
yeah.
Max 1.
Star Trek. Take us
Yeah.
to Velocity Max 1.
Warp factor 5. Exactly. But it was developed for those that love to drive and push their vehicles to its limits,
Hmm.
with harmonious balance of aerodynamics, weight distribution, agility, and safety. All right. It's a dual motor, all wheel drive vehicle, as I said, 519 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque. And it includes an 85 kilowatt battery pack with an estimated range of 275 miles. The V mode takes the performance customization even further, and I'm sure rapidly reduces that 275-mile
Yes.
range.
Yes. Just like putting your gas pedal to the floor in a regular car, you will empty your tank pretty quickly.
Yeah. So successful model. I mean, this. Let's face it. This is brought into uh, compete with like Audi e-tron, some of their
Right.
higher
Right.
performing models. Um, I wonder how it will work out for Cadillac. Eventually, they'll have no gas-powered models. If they're still on track to do that, if we'll see a change in that, I'm not quite sure where that brand is going. I know they wanted to
Well,
get it back into the technological leader, but I don't know.
I don't know what their sales have been in the past couple of years, the total sales. I do know that their average buyer is about 47 years old. So,
W-
it's somebody who has reached a stage in life that uh, they can afford it. They have wants and desires that they can fill.
Okay.
So maybe it's catering to that specific demographic, and they're not so concerned with somebody who's 30 and starting to make some good money.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We'll have to check that. I guess Detroit
Well,
News still posts the sales figures, don't they?
I believe they do, and just to your point, MSRP starts at 68,795, and that it's including destination. Interesting article I read that said the average purchaser of a Porsche 911 makes over $700,000 a year. And they were talking
Wow.
about things like the 914 and the 924 and previously, and they said what happens is Porsche decided we've got enough people that make over 700 grand a year that will buy these things, so we
Yep.
don't have to. We can leave that market, right? Uh, so that sounds like what Cadillac's doing. Um, I don't know if they can pull that off. Porsche is pulling it off.
Porsche's, got a loyal following. I don't know if that applies to the Panamera and those models, but
By the way, I saw a Panamera. It looks like somebody heated it and stretched it. It's pretty cool. You don't see many of them. I saw one in metallic blue the other day at the supermarket because that's a perfect car to
well,
run
why
your
not?
errands
Yeah, I
in.
don't know. It's definitely a supermarket car, just like your Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's a perfect car for you know.
Yeah.
I use that to take the garbage to the dump in it. That's
Yes. So do I. So do I. And yeah, it's because it is very, very user friendly.
yeah, but
Um,
I don't know. I don't know if Cadillac has elevated its brand in people's minds to make it like, oh, I'm going to cross shop an Audi Performance e-tron versus this Optique V. It's hard to say. I think people are going to, if they're going to spend that much money, and they're going to spend more than
yeah.
$68,000 on a Porsche. The average, I believe, is 110, and probably goes much up from there. So maybe this is a new segment. It is the people comfortable spending 70, 80, 90 grand on a car, but they're not at the Porsche level. Uh,
No, and they want a somewhat more practical vehicle, um, as opposed to a pure sports car.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll
I
have
need
to.
to look up the sales figures. Apparently, they're selling because they keep introducing these things.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We've been keeping a check on the tariffs, and it's still a developing story on the automotive industry. Some are holding their prices,
Yep.
some are increasing their prices. I believe it was Subaru that said anywhere from 750 to 2,000 added to the sticker. These are the official ads, not the dealer ads where they decide to just do it to make some money, but more money. But one manufacturer has been helped by tariffs, and that is Toyota. They basically are doing very well because people are buying Toyotas uh, dramatically increased numbers because they wanted to avoid the tariffs. So the just listen to these April numbers here. The automaker produced 129,414 units in April of 2025. That's a 7.7% increase over the same month last year. And export numbers were high at 54,755, which is an 8% increase. People wanted
That's
to buy this stuff before the tariffs came in, right?
Yeah. And, because they make a lot and they make a lot here,
Mm-hmm.
people are jumping for them and good for them. This Toyota is a smart company.
Well, they navigated the electric vehicles, even though we've mentioned they
They
have
did.
some very
They
cool
did.
electric vehicles coming out. They navigated that well. It was an unpopular position for a while, saying we're going to stick with hybrids and gas engines, but they navigated it so well that they did not blow their budget on first gen or second gen electric cars. Now they can
Yeah.
come out with some cars that have newer technology, and they did not spend a lot of time making expensive electric cars that people wouldn't buy. They're in the business to sell cars, so they do sell
And
them.
and they're selling them. And
Yeah,
they're selling them at a much higher rate than they did a year ago.
yeah. So I think Toyota is, as you said, a very smart company. They, of course, just redid their RAV4, and their whole. I always said this. You and I have said this on Cruise Control. Basically, you should just make every vehicle a hybrid in your
Yep.
lineup, and they are doing that little by little. Camry, now the 2026 RAV4 will be all hybrid. Um, Really, I guess when you get to economies of scale of a RAV4 where they're all hybrids, the price comes down for the hybrid,
That's
system.
right. That's right. And they're just seamless in driving. Their hybrid system just outshines everybody else's. They're so good at it.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely are. I think they're up to the fifth generation of that, and I think we will be seeing a lot from Toyota in the future. And we said
Yeah,
they have 3 electric models coming out. They're improving them, putting better names on them than the alphanumeric names that they've had before. So it's going to be a big time for a Toyota. But they even seem to have navigated the tariff situation so far. No one knows where that's going, but we will see where it does. Uh, Hey, you're a restoration guy. Uh, One of the biggest problems with restorations of cars from, let's say, the 80s and 90s, and even up to the current cars, is plastic parts and pieces. They're not
yep,
lasting a long time. And some of them are not offered for replacement. And if you go to a salvage yard to find them, some of these are crash parts that have already been smashed, or they have the same problem. They've degraded thanks to UV.
yeah. If the
Um,
sun has hit it, forget it.
and so a lot of people are like probably paying big money for plastic parts, and they're already degraded. But what if you could get these brand new parts that are not um, being produced by anyone else? But what if somebody would print them for you? Well, this is an interesting article on thedrive.com, and it talks about a guy in the UK that it's called BWB Designs. If you find a part, like he used Honda CRX license plate holders as an example, and there's also headlight buckets, these or shrouds as he calls them. These are not being replaced. So if you can have a friend take one off, or even your broken one, and you send it to him, he will scan it, he will improve it so it's more durable, and then he will print you it. Um, And he says he can even, like, you can send him a picture and he can scan it from the picture and build this up. But the part, ideal way to do it is to take a part off another car
Right. Even if it's
and send it
broken.
to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, even
Yeah.
if it's broken. So this is the future, I think. I even think it's the future for other parts for older cars. You don't have to store them. You just, when someone orders one, you print it for them, right?
I think you're right. We talked about this about 10 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking, someday, you actually said it, someday somebody will be able to print you any car part you need. And like for these older cars, they'll be able to print tail light lenses,
Right.
for a 1938 Hudson.
Right. Yeah. As long as
Uh,
someone will, and I think with the advent of AI and things like that, you could probably take a picture of one at a car show
yeah,
and maybe provide some basic measurements, because let's face it, you have a classic car, some guy walks up, hey, I'm restoring one of these. I need tail lights. Can I take this off and take it with me and scan it? That's kind of a hard sell.
that's a
Um,
hard sell. But if you bring your little lidar laser scanner with you,
oh, that's an idea too.
you can then just those things are really getting inexpensive,
That's
and
very interesting. Um,
now you have a perfect measurement. It's not the color or anything, but
mhm.
you have it,
Well,
and
even this is happening even to things like Nissan 300 ZXs and other vehicles, that these parts are just not reproduced. And they're they're parts that go bad over time. When in the 80s, when plastic became more of the fascia of the car and all that. Um, I think it's interesting stuff, and I think we're going to see more of these companies doing this. And it's 3D printing is pretty amazing. It's only going to get better. And the one piece he said he's very proud of is the MR2 air ducts. That is a piece that is not reproduced. It's on the side of the car and can get damaged in a crash or just break from heat and things like that. And he can do it. He can give you new ones that are probably better than the old ones. Even make them look
yeah,
like carbon fiber, whatever you want. I see this as the big future to keeping these cars
I do
alive.
too. I think there will be shops like this all over the world.
Yeah. So what do they do? Should they start scanning cars right now and say, hey, while they're
That's a good
here,
idea.
scan it. Maybe that's a business. Mobile scanner. I'll come and scan all the parts on your car, and that way we have the files. And then something breaks, you get in a crash, or someone else needs the parts. You know, who knows?
And I think eventually you'll be able to get fenders and
Interesting.
hoods and imagine being able to scan. Uh, I wonder if can you 3D print glass?
I don't know about that. I don't know
Yeah,
enough
I don't
about it.
either.
But this guy's in the UK. It's called BWB Designs, and I think it's a great service, and I think we're going to see more of it. So, hey, Les, what do you say we keep going and let's take a look at some of the stories that we're going to have coming up right now.
Yep.
This is a fun one. It is from Chrysler. They are celebrating 100 years of the brand, uh, which is exciting. They've had some pretty interesting reveals, and they apparently have quite the collection of cars themselves. Uh, Chrysler's always been a little bit out there. They've always done some interesting things, and that's on display for their 100th anniversary. But then, talking about the future of Chrysler, there's a lot of talk that Chrysler will become the kind of experimental brand of Stellantis, And they use the halcyon concept, which we're showing right now, where they said this design language could potentially be what underpins the future of vehicles like the next generation 300. So exciting
That's
stuff. The head of the brand
yeah.
says, get ready because there's going to be a lot of new product coming out. We're not going to be just a minivan brand, although with the success of minivans lately, it's probably not the worst thing. But they are going to expand out. So that's kind of exciting news.
It
And
is
then,
exciting.
then you have a story on which car color depreciates the most.
Yes, believe it or not, the color of your vehicle will and can determine what its depreciation level will be.
Okay.
And we are going to go through the colors, various colors, and what percentage they drop over 3 years.
Would that, and we're going to get into this much more later, but
Yeah.
wouldn't you just buy a car for the color you like?
Well, I would
I
hope
mean, you
so.
don't like say, well, I have to be so financially prudent that I have to buy, try to predict the future,
That's right.
what somebody will buy. I mean, yeah, if you buy like a really weird color, well, in certain vehicles like a Corvette, a really weird color combination could be exciting to them, right? But
It could be, but now in the extreme, and we will get into this more, but in the extreme, about 6 months ago, I saw a woman driving a pink Lexus.
was that like a Mary Kay? Remember
I,
Mary Kay
I don't know.
Cosmetics?
I don't know, but it occurred to me that car is worthless
Well, it's probably a
on the
wrap. So they'll peel the wrap
oh,
off
maybe
and maybe
maybe
there's white paint underneath, but
don't know.
we'll kick that
But
around though. It's
we'll
kind of
we'll
interesting.
whole number chart.
Yep. We're also going to talk about what's new at Volkswagen for 2026. So we'll go through their lineup and some of the new features. And then interesting story, they restore a van that was damaged in the California fires. Volkswagen van. That's a great photo there. With I don't know if that's Photoshop, but it stands
No,
out.
no, I saw that story in the newspapers several months back. That is an actual where it was sitting when the fire ravaged that entire street,
Hmm.
and all it did was damage that side of the car, the right side of the car
Yeah,
that we're
it
looking
doesn't
at.
look terrible.
Remarkable, just
Yeah,
remarkable that it was the only thing on that street that survived.
amazing. So nice of Volkswagen. They're going to restore that because that vehicle deserves to live, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good story from Volkswagen. What do you got coming up?
Well, Porsche builds a street legal Le Mans race car. Now that's what everybody needs. I am all for this. I really am.
Once again, a
It,
perfect car to do your grocery
for the
shopping.
grocery store, or the liquor store. That's even better. It's called the 963 RSP.
That's the one
It
in the
is a
back. There, this one right
yes.
here. Yep.
It's a real Le Mans racer. Just like back in the '60s, we could buy a GT40 for not much money. Actually, I turned one down for $8,000.
Oh, I bet you are mad about that.
I kind of wish I had bought it, um, but I didn't. Imagine what that would be worth today.
It would have been a good $8,000 investment, I think.
At least $8,000.
Well,
Yeah.
talking about Le Mans, I just recorded an interview earlier, and we're going to play it with Ted Ryan, the Ford's Archives and Heritage brand manager from Lemans France. And he's talking about Ford's plans for Le Mans this year. It's they're doing some fun things, but of course, 2027 they're coming back to Le Mans, and we talked to him a little bit about that, but also the Heritage Vault. There's a lot of things added to the Heritage Vault, so
Yeah.
we'll talk to Ted and play that. And it was very interesting. He was standing by the racetrack, and you could hear the cars going by, getting ready for Le Mans this weekend. So,
It's that's the race. That's the race to drive in right
yep,
there.
yep. And then I'm going to have an at the wheel review of the Mazda CX5 Carbon Turbo. This is a cool version of the CX5. CX5, very popular very popular model, I should say, not a person. What do you think of that zircon sand metallic paint?
I was just going to ask you what the name of that color is. I'll withhold judgment because right offhand, I'm just not sure I like it.
Yeah, I'll give you my judgment a little bit later.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's drop into our story about Chrysler, Les, being 100 years old. Uh, Good news for that brand. There's a lot of concern for that brand because they don't have a lot of new product. But let's kind of talk a little bit how they're going to celebrate their 100th anniversary, right?
That's right. I'm really glad Chrysler has hung on for 100 years. They were always the company known for engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and they, as you said earlier, they were always just like Studebaker. They were just kind of out there from the conventional design,
Mm-hmm.
and they always made very interesting and quite elaborate looking products.
Mm-hmm. Very ornate.
Very ornate, and of course, the turbine car was the coolest thing. I actually got to ride in one of those in 1963
Oh
when
my.
a guy I was going to college with, his father got one to use for the whatever it was, 3 months.
Mm.
Um, that was just so cool. I wish I had taken a picture. But anyway, they're going to celebrate. They're going to have Century of Innovation summer celebration events
Mm-hmm.
as it looks for the next 100 years. Boy, 1925. I don't know. Just doesn't seem that long ago, but it's, I, w- I wasn't alive then,
They were the
anyway,
first in some aerodynamic cars too, airflow.
and just just really some great innovation. And they've got a birthday photo of 1,500 workers. They've got the replica toolbox time capsule that's encased with memorabilia and artifacts, brochures, merchandise, vehicle sketches, and a
Pretty
clever
cool.
nod to Walter P. Chrysler, who was Chrysler.
Yeah, yeah. And they have a rolling out a 7-part Century of Innovation social media video series that takes an in-depth look at the Trailblazers. And they provided some great pictures. Some of them were from car shows with engine cutaways from the 20s and 30s. It's pretty cool. They have the Chrysler Century of Innovation featuring Chrysler CEO Fuel, reflecting on the 100-year legacy. Um, what would you like to see the brand come out with? I mean, what would you like to see them have in their lineup? I think certainly for me, I'd like to see them do an incredible new take on the 300, wouldn't you?
I would too. I would like to see them. I have driven 300s. I've always liked them. They're
Yep.
stylish. I
Yep.
really would like them to do a convertible.
Oh, that would be
Better
great.
yet, better yet, a retractable hardtop. That is the sort of thing Chrysler would have done.
Yeah. Well, they had the Halcyon, which kind of was trying to create a look or a design language for Chrysler. Chrysler, if you recall, once again, the guy that ran Stellantis didn't understand it and was like, "I'll
Now,
give you a year to come back" or something like that. Maybe it was 10 years. It seemed more like a year. It's like, well, they sell minivans. You're not going to develop something new in that time.
no,
But
you're not.
But the head of the brand has said, get ready because there's going to be plenty of new vehicles, including a crossover due in 2027 that will arrive as a hybrid or possibly electric drivetrain. And a smaller electric crossover might also be something that comes for the brand. Ralph Gilles has made hints in the past that the crossover is still coming and perhaps a different design than the one previewed by the Airflow concept in 2022. Of course, Ralph Gilles, the design guy there, he's been on the show a number of times. And then dealers, as I said, are clamoring for a 300 replacement that ended production in 2023. And the Halcyon model is potentially the theme of the next 300. They need to weather this storm. They need to get through this time of just having minivans.
That's
The
right.
good thing
It's
is
a very
minivans are seeing a resurgence, so maybe that will
it's a
help.
very, very good minivan for sure. But that can't be your only product.
No, no, you can't really have a standalone dealer and just say, "Hey, we have the Pacifica," and that's
No,
it. Uh,
no,
they
that's it.
they did bring out a less expensive version of their minivan, which is good. Um, but they have a lot of competition from people like Kia. So
Yep.
it's going to be a rough go for them. They need product, as Bob Lutz used to say from GM and Chrysler. It's all about the product.
It's
If you don't
all
have
about the
anything to sell,
product.
doesn't matter. Uh, what else would you like to see from Chrysler?
I would love to see a renewal well, not a retro, but a renewal of the kind of the old Imperial
Okay.
uh, lineup,
Okay.
um, but done, in modern dress.
I mean, the
But
old
all the
Chrysler style was lots of trim and all that. You really,
well,
it's
yeah,
hard to do that in a modern car, right?
but do it rather than that. Do it with just super luxury.
Okay. Would it involve wood
Because
grain siding?
well, I think that might be just a wee bit too far,
Okay.
but maybe not a limousine, but maybe just an actual full-sized car. I don't
What
think no one makes one
what would
anymore.
you like to see? I mean, when they talk about a crossover, do you think they're talking about a gussied up Durango or something like that, or Wagoneer? Like more likely a Wagoneer, a very high end
Yep,
Wagoneer.
yep.
Um, I wonder if they can make that even more luxurious for the Chrysler brand. It's hard to know because that's a pretty luxurious vehicle.
Yeah, they should be. Well, I don't know. It'd be pretty tough to make it more luxurious, but they could do a Chrysler version.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Um, I like the Crossfire. Remember the Crossfire?
Well, I very much. We saw one on the road about a week ago. My wife asked, "What is that?" I said, "It's a Crossfire," and it looked like it was restored. I mean, it was just perfect.
Yeah, I enjoyed the SRT Crossfire. I remember they had
Yeah,
a course set up, a autocross course set up, and I thought this thing is amazing on this. This would be ideal.
yeah,
But hey, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. But a good friend of
it's
ours, Lisa Barrow, who was the PR person for Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler, and whatever it was called before that, said she had one, and whenever she went somewhere, people would say, "What is that?" It was
yeah,
like a
that's right.
conglomeration of Mercedes parts and Chrysler design.
It was based on a Mercedes SL.
Yeah, not a bad thing to base
Not
a
a bad
vehicle.
thing.
Yeah. Why don't we delve into this story we were talking about a little bit earlier, and that is car depreciation due to color choice.
That's right.
I see cars has come up with this. What do you think here? Let's talk about these colors.
Okay. Well, now, as again, as Fred said earlier, people buy a car and choose a color because they like it. I've never known a person who's chosen a car uh, for its color, for its resale value. Maybe there are people like that,
Hmm.
and but the fact is, color makes a difference when you sell later.
Okay.
For instance, if your color is black,
Mhm.
uh, and your car has 2 miles on it and it's 3 years old, I won't take it if you sell it to me for $1 because that's to me it's the stupidest color to paint a car. It requires ridiculous amounts of maintenance, and I don't even think it looks good on most car bodies.
Shows
Um,
dirt,
but
shows
that's just
scratches.
me. Show it shows everything.
Right.
Uh, but so I think that reduces the car's value. Now, actually, in fact, let's go down the chart.
You want to start
The
from highest depreciation for 3 years, or
right.
where do you want
Well,
to start?
we'll start with. I think we should start with the lowest because
Okay. It's
it's
kind of
very
a
surprising to
it
me.
it is because I always think of yellow, bright
Yellow,
yellow, school bus yellow as kind of an out there color. But
absolutely. Me too. Me too. And it has the least the least 3-year percentage depreciation of 24%, which on average is about $13,000, 13 and a half from MSRP.
now here's
And
a
then
real the
the
next one.
second color, it's, I, this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is the same as a black car. Orange,
Yeah,
no, no, thank you.
orange. There's only a few cars that can pull that off. I think of Hugger orange on the Camaro,
Yeah.
and maybe some Corvettes in that color. What else comes in orange, though? Are there orange?
Porsche, oh no, Porsche, it does not a lot of the 911s in orange.
Unless at
Um,
least you can see him coming. It's a safety thing.
yeah, you can. So that's again 24.4%.
Okay.
Average from MSRP, $9,900. Then we get into, I think, good colors.
Hmm.
Um, Green.
Yeah,
Well,
green.
I like green. Most any green,
Yeah, pretty safe color. And beige
right?
for the person that says I am not stylish.
I I have I bought my Ford my Mustang in Ford Racing Beige.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it says, "Gee, I don't want to make a statement."
but for 3-year depreciation, it's only 29.5%.
Now, I like red. I like red
I do
cars.
too.
I
I
think
do
it
too.
looks good, especially if you have a smaller car, they can see you coming. There's a lot of nice reds. You can get anything from a burgundy to a bright red. I typically like something like a metallic red that is not too in your face,
Exactly.
you know?
And all you ever hear in the collector car market is resale red. Paint your
Resale
car
red. Yeah.
resale red,
Yeah, that's it.
uh, which may be true. And it only loses 29.8%.
Okay.
And by the way, as an aside, red does not result in more tickets. That is a false
Going fast
statement.
and driving crazy
Going
results in.
fast. That's right.
It's shocking
Uh,
to know this. A shocking reveal on cruise control.
that's right. And and the next one, brown. I haven't seen a brown car. I'm trying to remember
Well,
the
I'll
last
tell
one.
you, they brought one color out called caffeine for the C8 Corvette, and I think it lasted 2 years. And I thought
Wow.
I wouldn't get that color. I mean,
I tested way back in the early or maybe late 90s. I tested a Ford Focus RT
hmm
that was done in a brown that the name of the color was rust.
It
And
was one
that's
of
what it
those
looked like.
predictive colors.
Yes, that's that's true.
Silver, you have to mention silver. Silver, I don't mind silver. Certain silvers look good.
Um, I don't mind silver
It was
anymore. I
all the
used,
rage in the press
yeah,
fleet for the longest time.
yeah, boy, it
Tw-
sure was.
29.8%. Gray is kind of like silver, 30.5%. Although there are a lot of metallic grays now that I do like. Lexus uses that color a lot. Um, and
That's
I,
right.
I just had a Prius that I drove that was in that color. I kind of like it. You know, Jeep had a great color called Destroyer, which was like haze gray, basically. It was kind of cool for a Jeep. Makes it look like a
Yeah,
navy Jeep almost, you know. And blue, 30.9%.
popular color.
Yeah. So why don't you go to the
Then,
highest
then
ones?
the I know you're going to rub this in a moment. The overall average colors are black at
Mm-hmm.
31.9%,
Yep.
white with
32%
32
depreciation.
point. That, of course, my car is white. And white, by the way, I think is the most popular color of
Absolutely.
2025.
Yep. Red, white, and black are the most
Yeah,
popular car
they really
colors.
every
And silver.
I swear every time I park my car, there are five other white cars next to it.
Well, just look at what dealers order for their stock. It's mostly white
It's
cars.
white, uh, gold, and then gold is the I guess the worst of the averages, and that's 34% over 3 years. So if your car was, $45,000, you've lost 16.6 of it. But
Is
I
this
don't know. Is
considered
that
gold?
important?
The zircon sand metallic
I don't think that color it will be a popular. Um,
color.
I don't think it'll age well. Let me
Okay.
say that.
Well, we'll talk more about that later when we do the at the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all comes from iccars.com. You can check them out if you need more information. But the takeaway from the drive that put this up, and I agree with it, buy the color that you like.
Yep.
You know,
That's absolutely.
yeah, I don't like lime green. I never,
Oh, I
that.
never did. Never did.
I was
I
like,
have always
wow.
hated the old Corvette oranges, which were war bonnet yellow.
Oh,
It
that was
was
terrible. It looks like it
just
was
a
faded, like it was faded.
dreadful
Yeah.
color, just awful.
Yes. Awful. Awful. It looked like it had already faded and oxidized when it was new.
Yeah, yeah, brand new. It looked uh, like there was something wrong with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you better buff that out, man. That looks
That's right.
that's messed up.
You need a repaint.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, talk about repaint. Volkswagen is restoring a bus that was caught in the fires in California and managed to survive the wildfire quite well, actually. And they're going to redo this. They're going to pay for the restoration of this vehicle. I'm glad they're doing that to bring this back, right?
well, that's right. You can go on YouTube if you're not watching us on live stream. And this VW bus is famous now because the owner, Megan Crystal Weintraub, um, who lived on that street, the entire street was wiped out in fire, and the VW was sitting on the street next to the curb, and it survived. One side is badly
Charred.
scorched,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of bending, a lot of warping in the metal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the interior suffered quite a bit
Okay, because it must have
from the
got pretty
heat.
hot in there. Yeah.
But when you see the actual picture of this thing on the street in front of what was her house, and you see devastation around it, it's almost miraculous that this one thing survived the fire.
Even the tires survived. They don't look bad.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you just think, well, how could that happen? But it's all about air currents and you know, um, I actually sat down when I saw this picture a couple months ago and tried to do some quick um, heat transfer calculations,
Uh-huh.
and then I gave up. I just said,
Well, the
"This
fire's
is
burning at what, like 1,000 degrees?
about 1,000, but it's wave dynamics, it's air currents, and well, obviously, it survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's wonderful that VW is going to restore this thing for
They
her. The name
celebrated. Well, go ahead.
she named the car Azul,
Okay.
Azul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she said, I knew Azul was becoming a symbol of hope and that people wanted to see more of her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. They're
that's great.
restoring the International Volkswagen Bus Day happens every June 2nd, and this is what they're going to do. They're going to go through it and make a careful examination of it. And they said Azul has a good side and another side that requires extensive repair and body work.
Yeah,
Um, but I think that would be drivable, even
I
like
think
that.
so. I
You
think
know,
so.
yeah. Uh, and they're just going to redo it. I think that's wonderful. The van
Well,
deserves to
and
live.
it's a symbol of the resilience of the California residents with these fires, and we're going to hang in there.
Hmm.
So I just think it's a
Already in the
really nice
shop,
thing to do.
getting looked at. Yeah, so very cool. That photo almost doesn't look real. It almost looks like you
No, it doesn't look
photoshopped
real,
it in
but it
there.
is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, you simply can't believe it. But
The other side that's not damaged looks fine. It
no,
looks.
the other side looks okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Um,
well, there you go. We'll look forward to seeing it revealed. But one of the things we can talk about here is Volkswagen's lineup for 2026, and we have some information on that, right?
Absolutely, they're going to have. Well, we'll cut to the chase. The Gulf will still be around.
Good.
Uh, we all love Gulfs.
Yep, more power,
Let's face it.
bigger screens,
Yep,
no manual.
GTI and the R. That's right.
Uh,
So that's good news. But the big thing is, of course, the Atlas and the Atlas Cross Sport,
hmm.
uh, and it's a large vehicle.
Yep.
Uh,
Obviously, they're made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, built in Tennessee. They will
yep,
continue. The ID4 was also upgraded in 2024, like the Atlas. So the 2026 model will be available in 5 trims, including Entry Pro, All Wheel Drive Pro, S, and S Plus. So a lot of trims there. ID Buzz debuted in 2025, so it's mostly a carryover. Jetta and Jetta GTI were refreshed in 2025. Actually, when you look at Volkswagen's lineup, this is have one of the freshest lineups out there. Taos was refreshed in 2025, and now the Tiguan is all new as well. So they have probably one of the freshest lineups going, don't they?
absolutely. Again, they are. Where are they at? Are they the third largest car company in the
It
world?
could be. I know they were vying for number one, but I don't think they ever got there. Uh,
No, I don't think so. You have Toyota and you have Volkswagen. Maybe I'll research that.
yeah, but fresh lineup. I like to see that. Everything's new. Nothing's been hanging around for a long time, and it's the oldest models were refreshed in 2024. So that's not too long ago. Tiguan looks nice. The new Tiguan. I look forward to
It
driving it.
does.
It looks very luxurious and It is, they have the SEL R-Line Turbo with 268 horsepower. That seems like it will be a fun drive. So
That's
I
right.
I
And
hope to get into that soon.
I'll never be able to look at a Taos on the street anymore without thinking of the one that we crash tested down at the IIHS crash
Yes, not
facility.
not
That
driving it. They wanted you to drive it, but you said no.
Yes, they wanted. Well, several people in the group wanted me to drive it. They volunteered me as a crash test dummy. Uh,
He'll get behind the wheel.
oh
Here.
yeah, sure, I'll do that. That car will never drive again, I assure you.
Yeah. 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 Do
But
they say
it,
salvage anything off of those cars? I mean, like the rear
they
hatch or anything?
salvage. Well, they salvage some things, but then they just send them to the junkyards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they did say, now again, this is without having analyzed all of the hundreds of data points from all of the sensors and so on, that the people in that car would have walked out, well, gotten out with major headaches, um,
As race car
some
drivers say, getting their bell rung.
yes, the driver would probably have suffered a sprained or possibly broken ankle,
Wow.
and a lot of facial cuts and bruises, mainly from the airbag. So, you know, you, you saw the picture.
Yeah, you would be severely in shock for sure.
Yeah. Um, that's it. Good engineering. That's what this is all about.
Well, this is about good engineering too,
Oh, yeah.
because the Porsche 963, of course, we talked in the past about the 917 that they built a while back, 50 years ago, it was a long time back, which was a Le Mans car that someone wanted to turn into a streetable car. They figured at the folks at Mercedes, why not do this again? And you think about this, that Le Mans is going on this weekend. What if you could try? There it
Yeah.
is, driving on the highway. There's the original 917, but
That's it. Why not?
yeah. So Porsche 963 RSP, at the wheel, that drove it the first time was the 3-time Le Mans winner Timo Berhard, and this thing, they made it sort of roadable. I think there's even a cup holder in there, if I'm seeing correctly. They put a leather interior in it. I believe it has air conditioning. Yeah.
Well, it's
It's a shame it's going to be so slow with that leather interior, the additional weight.
now, of course, the big problem with something like this, aside
It does
from
have a cup holder, yes.
it does, yeah. And I would. They're not giving the price of this, are they?
I think it is just a one-off project, but probably if the price is right, you will be able to drive it.
Well, actually, I think maybe they'll keep it, but if you wanted to buy it, you're looking at like $25 million.
Oh my!
It costs a lot of money to make a Le Mans car.
Do you think someone could design a car that looked like this, but was more of a regular car
Right.
underneath?
But
Just
back
go
in
way out on the design?
but back in 66, 65 and 66, when Henry Ford II said, we're going to beat Ferrari,
Mm-hmm.
and they did.
Mm-hmm.
He spent 24 million dollars in 1965 money to do that. So this is not a cheap sport.
No. By the way, this is powered by a 4.6 liter twin turbocharged V8, making up to approximately 680 horses. And it has its origin in the RS Spider race program operated by Roger Penske.
Yep.
So, hey, if you have enough money, it comes with a cup holder. Probably comes with a USB-C for charging your phone too, don't you think?
And the fact is, this engine is incredibly reliable. This engine can run at full RPM for 24 hours without shutting it off.
It must be great in traffic, in stop and go
Oh,
traffic.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely something I want to take to the Safeway to
It
pick
is
up
a
some.
hybrid. The system produces up to 800
Yeah.
volts. It is a hybrid. So you can say, hey, it's a hybrid. I don't know. A
Well,
little bit too out there for me, and
it's
way too expensive.
but it makes a statement that you need to make sometimes.
Les, while we're on Le Mans, we had a chance to speak to Ted Ryan, who's Ford's Archive and Heritage brand manager. He's at Le Mans right now. And we talked a little bit about what Ford's doing there and also some great updates to the Heritage Vault, which, if you haven't been there, the Ford Heritage Vault is this
Yeah.
huge online site where you can download all kinds of historic things from Ford. But here's what Ted had to say from Le Mans. Ted, welcome back to Cruise Control. You've been on a number of times. We should first explain where you are because we're hearing some pretty high performance vehicles in the background, and I'm sure people want to know about it.
I'm at the Lemans France at the Ford Performance VIP Center, and of course, right before our scheduled time, a practice round started. So you're hearing a bunch of high performance vehicles, including two amazing GT3s that are out there racing right now.
Wow. And of course, Ford is preparing to go back to Le Mans, right?
In 2027, we'll be back again with the prototype vehicle, and I'm so excited. And it's symmetry too, Fred, because in 1967, Ford won, obviously, with the Dan Gurney AJ Foyt car. But Roy Lund, who was with CarCraft at the time, he described that as the first truly American designed and built sports car to win at Le Mans. We had won with the Mark IIs, but the Mark IV was completely designed in America, where the Mark II was an adaptation of the British Lola.
Right. Yeah. Exciting times. Well, what is Ford doing there right now?
We have the VIP Center in a store, and we have an interesting event going on called the Mustang Challenge, where we have basically souped up street legal Mustang dark horses that are being raced by about 30 different people. So we had practice runs this morning and another one this afternoon. Our own CEO, Jim Farley, is in the race. Frankie Munoz from Malcolm in the Middle is one of the celebrity drivers. And that race will be taking place on Friday morning. So it's quite a week here. And then obviously the race itself on Saturday, where Ford is hoping that the GT3s will, the Mustangs will help in their class again.
Yeah, exactly. And Jim Farley says the Mustang, he wants it to be on par with things like Porsche. And so he's putting his actions into play there. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
For sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Heritage Vault, because that has been a project you have been spearheading for a long time. If people don't know what it is open to the public. You can download some great history from Ford. And when it launched, it was kind of the first 100 years, right?
It was. We did the first 100 years, and believe it or not, Fred, it's 3 years. We launched it 3 years ago. And what we've done now is we've added a bunch of new content. We are taking our key nameplate vehicles up to date. So instead of just having it end at 2003, for the Mustang, you can now come almost all the way up to date. My goodness, a helicopter just went over. But for all of the key nameplates like that, we're bringing them up to date. The other thing that we've done, and this is really interesting to me, is we've begun to add press releases for the vehicle introductions for all of our different key vehicles. So you want to see the introductory press release for a 1964 Mustang, it's in there now for you to be able to see.
As an automotive journalist, I love that because we're always reading press releases, and it's kind of funny. I looked at some of them from way back. They kind of follow the same format, the same language. So
They do. I actually have a press release from the 1966 victory at Le Mans on display at an exhibit case just around the corner from me. Along with, and you'll appreciate this, I've got the bill for the cigars for the victory celebration. They ordered 60 cigars at 7 cents a piece, and also have on display a pair of cufflinks that are spell out 24. And Henry Ford II had those made for the team that helped win at Le Mans.
Is Ford unique? They seem to save everything. I mean, like as you say, a receipt for cigars. Is that unique in for corporate America?
It's not unique for corporate America, but banks, for example, the archives for most of our banks keep just as detailed records within the automobile manufacturers. Mercedes has a world-class archive that's much celebrated. Ford's documentation, particularly from 1950 until today, is just amazing. If you want to see the Bronco was codenamed Bronco. You want to see Bronco codenamed design drawings or sketches or feasibility studies, we have them and we can find them. So it's just a matter of knowing what we're looking for and how we're going to go find it. I do have to say, not all of that stuff ends up on the vault. With the vault, we have to make sure that everything is rights-free and available for the public to be able to download. So that's primarily photos, press releases, publications, and brochures, obviously. We can make those available for download.
My other question is, have you ever released either designs of vehicles that were going to be built but were never really commissioned, or anything like that? Or would that stay locked up in the vault, the real vault, and people would never see that?
No, that's a good question, and that's on my roadmap for the future. We have to, because everything that we're going to release is going to have to go through our Office of General Counsel. So, for example, I already have a curated collection of every clay model of the Bronco and the Mustang.
Right.
And at some point in the not too distant future, because they're going through OGC review right now, I hope to be able to make those clays available via the vault.
Well,
the one thing that your listeners can take as guideline is we want to make as much available as we can. It's our passion. My entire team, we love the vault. I don't think I've wowed you with the stats yet, but we've had more than 10 million items downloaded, and more than 30 million items, or more than 30 million searches take place in the vault over the 3 years that it's been up and running.
That is incredible. I mean, it really is. That's got to rival even the most popular websites, for downloads and things like that. And remember, once again, everyone, it is free to use. Anyone can go on there. You can download things. You can print them out. You could create wall art with them if you want, right?
You can, and we forgot the URL. It's FordHeritageVault.com. And the only thing that we ask is that people not make commercial use of it. So
right.
They can't download a picture and put it on a T-shirt and sell it at the corner. But any other use, any personal use, they can download the images for free.
Right. Wow, that's great. That's great. Well, what are your plans at Le Mans? What are you going to stay up all night and watch the racing?
I will not be up all night. I'm a little bit old for that. I'm in my 60s, not my 20s, so I don't think I'll be staying up all night. But what we did, we curated an amazing display of original documents that's here in the Ford VIP Center, and I've got doing a guest tour in a few minutes for the head of the Le Mans Museum. So we're showing that Ford is here with a presence, and now that we're back with the GT3 and 2027, back with prototype racing, we're here to stay.
Yeah, that is exciting stuff, Ted. It's who knows? Maybe Ford will do a street legal prototype vehicle like Mercedes just did. Wouldn't that be crazy? I always thought if some of those prototype vehicles were streetable, it would be crazy. But hey, enjoy it. And I always like watching Le Mans, as late as I can, because I feel great. I'm not driving in the fog and coming up on the end of a straightaway where I have to really turn hard right and slow down. I just feel great that I don't have to worry about that.
Well, thanks for having me on today, Fred.
Yeah, as always, Ted, and we'll have you back as more things happen with the Heritage Vault. Ted Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you much.
Interesting stuff from Le Mans. Hey, it's at the wheel time, Les, and let's take a look at the vehicle for this week. It is the Mazda Carbon Turbo, the CX5 Mazda Carbon Turbo. Carbon is kind of the look of this machine. It is got a lot of black trim, the black wheels, which are an exclusive. It also has an exclusive interior, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But CX5, one of the most popular, if not the most popular model in the Mazda lineup, great small crossover. And yes, they make the CX5 and the CX50. CX50 is a little bit bigger. But let's talk about this one. It's the 2.5T model, 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque, which does a really, really nice job of moving this vehicle along. The color is zircon sand metallic. On the inside, we have two-tone seats. These were beautifully stitched seats. They were kind of a little bit overstuffed, I would say, compared to some of the other CX5s I've driven, which is good and bad. Not bad in the front, maybe a little bit different out back. The dashboard is pure Mazda. The stitching on the door pads matches the seats. Instrumentation, if you've been in a CX5, you know what we're talking about, the corporate steering wheel. I like the fact that they have push buttons and knobs for most of the controls, so no big touch screen here. Overall, high quality interior. It's enhanced by these upgraded seats, which are part of the Carbon Turbo package. Out back, those seats are overstuffed, and well, that means a little bit tight on the legroom. As you can tell, the lower pad kind of goes out a little bit where the left and right passengers sit, and is recessed a little bit for the center passenger. So it's kind of tight back there thanks to the overstuffed stuffed seats. Yeah, absolutely. But nice interior just the same. Out back, plenty of storage. It's one of those tall storage areas where you get the remote seat releases, the manual remote seat releases, which are always nice. And that's kind of a CX5 standard thing that you come across. Underneath, you do get a space saver spare with the Bose amplifier in the center. As I said, this is the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine, 256 horsepower, 320 pound feet of torque. No problem there. Smooth running, plenty of power, and something that I think anyone would be happy with in a vehicle this size. And hey, they even put on a fancy engine cover, which is nice. The zircon sand metallic, that was $595. I'm not a big fan of it. It sort of was like a brown at certain lights and a kind of dark. I would have rather seen it in the Soul Red, which is so popular in the Mazda lineup. I did like the 19-inch aluminum alloy wheels with black metallic finish and the P225 55 R19 all-season tires. That is an exclusive of the Carbon Turbo. You do get LED headlights with adaptive front lighting system, LED daytime running lights, LED combination tail lights, black power side mirrors. As I said, most of the trim is black on this vehicle, which is kind of cool. That interior color is called terracotta. The leather trim seats, they have the faux suede inserts, which is kind of nice. That is also exclusive to the Mazda Carbon Turbo model. Overall, it's a clean look outside. I mean, we've driven a lot of CX5s. I like it with the black trim. It's got minimal cladding on the sides, and what cladding it does have is in a piano black look. I think these things drive well. They don't have a lot of rear leg room. I don't like the infotainment system. I've talked about that a lot. It is kind of not that intuitive. The screen is small, and it also, you have to operate it by kind of an outdated knob that you tilt around and press in the center console. So I'm hoping Mazda does away with that and goes to something a little bit more modern, a touchscreen. We'll have to see. It'll probably involve a pretty significant redo of the interior. Overall, though, the interior, great quality. in the materials, we talked about the terracotta seats with the suede inserts, black cloth headliner, 8-way power adjustable driver's seat with lumbar support and 2-position memory, and a 6-way power adjustable front passenger seat. Sometimes an adjustable front passenger seat, certainly a power one, is a rarity. So it's nice to see that. Windshield projected active driving display, which means head up display. And that 10.25-inch center display for the navigation system infotainment feels small. I know there are a lot of them are 12 and a half inches, that type of thing, but this one is a little bit narrow in its height, or it's a little short in its height. It just seems small. It seemed outdated. But you get everything. You get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You get HD radio, dual front USB-C audio inputs and charging ports, which is great. Hill launch assist, dynamic stability control, 360-degree view monitor. It all comes in, but it comes in at a price. So we told you the zirconium sand metallic adds $595 to your cost. Probably if you went with Soul Red, it would add just as much. But base price, $37,795. You add in that paint, $595. Destination is $1,420 for an as-tested price of $39,215. Kind of high. I almost think you could almost have a hybrid for that price.
I was kind of thinking maybe 33 or 34.
Yeah, it's kind of high. And as I said, the interior feels dated. The infotainment system feels dated to me. The lack of a lot of rear seat room. These are things to consider. You are spending almost $40,000. It's well equipped. It's got that great horsepower, the big block, the 2.5T, but it also lacks the room in the back, and the infotainment system is not intuitive. Just changing stations on the radio, I don't know why they made it so hard, and frankly, having the volume control and that knob on the console is kind of, those days have gone. It's mostly touchscreen. Lexus, I think, was one of the last ones to have the touchpad down on the center console. So I kind of would like to see them change that. And the price seems high by at least $5,000, I would say, in comparison. But this is a premium model, and it is the Mazda Carbon Turbo 2.5T for the 2025 model year. Not sure on the zirconium sand metallic, not a favorite color of mine. As I say, Soul Red would probably set you back $595.
Yeah.
Can't beat that Soul Red, though, from Mazda, can you?
Oh, Soul Red is wonderful, but this one, don't care for it.
Okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed Cruise Control. This week, we covered a lot of territory, got in a review, got in a live shot from Lemans. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We always appreciate your help. That helps us out a lot. Lets everyone know that you like what we're doing, and we'll keep doing more of it. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.